Hi, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very excited to bring you today somebody very special on the podcast. This man is not to be taken lightly. This is a great friend of mine that I've known for a while. I want you to really pay attention to this because you can really get some knowledge from this man. So, really quickly, man, if you could just introduce yourself and what it is you do in maybe one or two sentences, let people know where you're coming from.
Well, I was raised in Boston, Massachusetts. My name is Darrin Doughty. I'm a real estate agent, broker, and CEO of Doughty Properties. So I do a lot of work with real estate and real estate acquisitions.
Awesome, man. That's so great. I love seeing other entrepreneurs and people really, putting themselves out there. So, the first question I'm going to ask you is really just like an important question. Why is credit important? Like, what exactly is credit? Why is it important? So, I'm just going to let you explain that for the people really quick.
All right. So many people, especially young people, always think that they don't need credit. They don't need to buy a house right now. Why do they need a house? They can just rent. Well, you need credit for buying a house. You need credit for renting. You need credit for financing a car. And some times you need credit to get a specific job if you're dealing with a lot of money. Okay, so credit is very important. You want to build that early on at age, when you're fresh out of high school. That's what I did. What you could do is open a credit card and start it like that. You want to open up a credit card. You don't want to live off that credit card and be independent, like dependent on that credit card. You want to like kind of use it and pay it off, use it and pay it off. And that way you'll build your credit to where it needs to be. So like you can get that car, get that house, get that apartment, no problem. This is probably the number one thing that like in my field, I see a lot of young people not being qualified to get rentals, and it's kind of really sad because sometimes they're very young and then they have like they're a single parent and they're trying to get this apartment, and then they don't qualify because their credit score is too low. I can't help them.
Yeah, man, you guys should definitely take what this man is saying because they don't teach this stuff in school. Like, I know coming out of high school, I had no idea what credit was. I didn't know the importance of it, but he's really telling you that this thing is something you need to even get anywhere in life, especially
Exactly.
in the United States. Like, you just got to know exactly what it is.
Exactly, man. Exactly. They don't teach in school. There's a lot of things they don't teach in school.
All right, awesome, man. So I just want to give you like a question really quick that I had. Like somebody they're looking at their credit score, and maybe they're like thinking, what is exactly a bad credit score? What is a good credit score? Can you give maybe like a little quick example as to what you think might be the like threshold or the number that people can once they pass, they can kind of ease up a little bit on building that credit?
Of course, man. So basically, there's basically five levels of credit. You got poor, average, good, very good, and you have excellent, right? It's considered fair to landlords, at least around here, is 650. If you look on the Experian credit chart like we have over here, you can see that good would range from 670 to 739. So anything below 670 is would be considered fair credit.
Okay.
Um, if you're looking to get a car or financing or even a home, you want a minimum of 650 at least to be able to qualify and get still good rates on what you need to get.
And so, man, I have this little app on my phone, Credit Karma, this little website I have. I know a lot of people viewing this probably have used that website before. And they talk about, TransUnion, Equifax, Experian. What exactly are those? And why are there different scores for those? Like, what exactly does that mean?
Yeah, I know it can seem a little bit confusing, like when you go Credit Karma and you see these three different scores and they're always different, right? Like each company has different calculations. So there are three different credit bureaus that have different calculations. Okay, so depending on what the person who's running your credit is using, that's the score they're going to get. I consider Experian the most best calculations because that's what everyone uses. That's what I use, and is really good quality in that. You know what I mean? And then the second tier would probably be TransUnion, and then third I'll give it to Equifax because Equifax. I don't know many people that use Equifax. So if you're the real ones that you want to pay attention to is your TransUnion and your Experian because that's what most people are using. So make sure your scores are good on at least those two credit bureaus.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Yeah. And that's a really good app to check out. I mean, it's free. I use it all the time. It's really a good way to introduce you into credit and just kind of understanding what your credit score is. So I would check it out. I definitely recommend that. So
Okay.
another question I have, right? What's the difference between like if you're trying to buy a car, if you're trying to buy a house, what do you think you have the highest credit score for in order to be approved for? Let's say like it's a car loan, it's, buying a house, it's, or renting a property. Like which one of those do you think you have to have the best credit score for? And which do you think the credit score matters the most for?
Okay. I would say the house is probably the most important one. You know, with the car, if you're trying to get a car, they can go typically low. I mean, as long as you're in that fair range, 650 is that gold spot. Like I said earlier, but it's really good to really aim for a 700. Because
Mm,
with a 700, you pretty much cover all those bases that you talked about. You can get that house with good interest. You can get that car with good interest. You can get, that apartment with good terms. Because and the thing that people don't realize is that when they have good credit, they can negotiate how much they can pay in rent. So if you're going to
mm,
a landlord, you say, I want to rent out this property, and they say, okay, what's your credit score? Well, they check your credit score, and then you have a 500. Do you think they're going to even rent to you? So now let's say the same scenario, and you had a 650. They're not going to negotiate with you still, but they will accept you because that's average. But if you had a 700, if you had a 770, like I have a 786, if you have a high score that's considered great, I can say, hey, I don't want to pay the security deposit. You already know I have good income. I have great credit. I'm really reliable. That shows that I'm really reliable. Can you take off that security deposit that I have to pay for? Okay, no problem. You can just pay first and last. Great, we have a deal. That's how you negotiate. So if you have a great credit score, you have more negotiation power.
mm.
I mean, even with cars, even with mortgage, you can lower your interest if you have great credit.
Yeah, man, it's like leverage, right? It's like when you
It's
go into a
leverage.
job interview and you have multiple places you can go because you've done the work, then they're gonna maybe, not try to put as much restriction on you. You're able to get what you want. You're able to negotiate a lot better, like you're saying. Like that's really important.
It's like your resume, man. It shows your debts. It shows how good you are at paying back your debts, how quickly you can do it. So if you're not paying your credit card on time, if you're not paying your school bills on time, it kind of shows the kind of person you are. And if you're using Section 8, and this goes out for the Section 8 people, if you have a very low score, even though you have this free ride that the state is paying your rent, you still not going to get into that house if you have low credit. You're not, because what the landlord was going through the landlord's head is, okay, they have a 500 credit score. They're gonna fuck my house up, and now I gotta renovate it again. So I'm not gonna go with that Section 8 person. So people have assumptions of people depending on what your credit score is.
Mm. Yeah, because you really don't have any other way to really show them, you're credible, that you're able to make these payments. That's really like you're saying, like the resume, like that's really what you bring into the table.
That's what I'm saying, man. You worded it the best.
And going back to what we were talking about, like somebody coming out of high school and they're pulling out a credit card, they're applying for it, they got the credit card. What suggestions would you give in terms of them spending? Like I know there's a certain spending limit. How much should they spend
That's a
on
great
that
question.
credit limit in order to build the
That's
best?
that's a great question, man. That's a great question. So there's different things that make your credit score go low. And the biggest thing that makes your credit score go low is credit utilization. So what that means is if you have a max, because when you get a credit score, they're not going to give you $500,000 in credit limit. They're going to give you a low credit to fill you out. So they're going to give you, like, let's say $2,000 on that credit card. So you shouldn't max out, and that's 100% utilization. You shouldn't max out because that's going to make your score go down. Even if you make your monthly payments, it's still going to go down because you're using all your credit and you're paying it down too slow. But the magic spot would probably be 15%. So you don't have to do any calculations on how much percent you're using. It basically tells you on your phone or on your bank. So if you use Capital One Venture, I would recommend that card. I'm not affiliated with them at all, but that's the card that I used to start my credit because it had cash back benefits and it had low interest for people that are trying to build their credit. And it's easy to qualify for. So basically what I did was, as like I was focused on building my credit because I needed to get an apartment, So I was using a credit card. I paid it off the same day. Used it, paid off the same day. That's how I used it, and that's how my credit got to 700 at the time. And I just got out of high school, so I was probably 19. So if you're looking to move out of your parents' house, you're tired of living under their roof and you want to build your own legacy, you want to be independent, I would strongly suggest that you get your credit open fast because it takes like maybe 3 months for that to kick in, for your score to kick in after you get that card. So always stay prepared, and by the time you're 21, you're good.
Yeah, and like with anything, it takes time, like it's not going to happen overnight, but if you have a long-term goal, learning about credit can really put you in an advantage over somebody who hasn't even taken the time to research it or learn or even engage with credit,
That's why we're here.
And I think, man, knowledge is power. And we just learned by you talking, credit is power as well. So this is all just to help you guys kind of be more knowledgeable and not rely on just what you're taught in school, because that's not going to financially keep you at a good place. You have to kind of hear this from somebody who's actually in the field, who's actually taken the time to research this stuff, learn this stuff, and seen it in action. He's still actively in the real estate business, and he's still actively, building his credit as he goes to potentially invest, right? That's what you're looking to do, be a real estate investor.
That's what I'm saying. The goal is to be rich, man. If you notice, a lot of rich people have great credit. Okay.
Was that Jay-Z quote from
It wasn't. But Jay-Z did say, what's more important than throwing money in a strip club? Credit.
Credit.
Important, man. It's gonna get you rich.
Yeah, and you know where he's at. You know how he's done. So listen to the people who've been successful,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So awesome, man. All right, brother. Thank you for coming on, man. Thank you for taking the time to talk to everybody about credit. I know you have a busy schedule, but I think it's really going to help a lot of people out there, especially young people on YouTube who are just watching this useless stuff, man. This is really useful knowledge. I wish I had somebody, 10 years, 5 years down the line who would have told me this stuff. And I think that's why this is so important. But really appreciate you being on, man.
I appreciate you having me, man. Anytime. Till next time.
Peace. If you guys want to check out any more information or videos, it's going to be right here up in the description. Just keep going and keep following us, and we're going to continue on.